Welcome back to character modeling. In the previous lesson, we blocked out the head and placed in an eye socket. And before we continue on shaping that eye socket, it's probably best to put an eyeball in there so we can shape around that eye. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm just going to come into my perspective view and I'm going to create a NURBS sphere. I'm going to drop it there in the center, and we're going to go ahead and just isolate that selection and hit F on the keyboard to frame up on it. And we need to rotate that forward 90 degrees in X. So we've got that coming towards us. And the eye is made in two parts. There's an outer eye, which is primarily just a reflective surface and specular surface that gets a transparent shader put on it. And then the inner eye, which will have the eye material on it as far as the iris and pupil and all that. So we're going to need to duplicate this. So Control D. And this is our inner eye now that we have selected. So let's go ahead and scale that down to probably 0.96 will work right now. And then come back here and select the outer eye. And let's go ahead and drop this one on a layer so we can turn the visibility on and off. So just creating a layer right here. So that's eye outer or out. So we can turn that on and off. And let's go ahead and give it that transparent material. So I'm assigning a new material, just right mouse clicking. And under Maya shaders, I'm going to grab a Fong. And we can just move down to that. So there's our Fong. And we're going to call that eye out material. And the transparency, we're going to take that all the way up so it becomes completely transparent, as you can see right there. Okay, so let's come back to our channel box and go ahead and turn the visibility off on that. And I'm going to select the inner eye now, and this is going to be our iris here in the center as well as the pupils, so we need to insert some isoparms. So just grabbing this one and dragging it down. And I'm going to hold the Shift key and drag down two more, kind of spacing them apart. And then under our Surfaces menu set, under Edit NURBS, we're just going to insert those isoparms. Okay, and we can move these in now. Right now, our outer eye is bulging out, which we want, like that. But the inner eye, where the iris is, we're actually going to push that back in a little bit. We're going to do that by grabbing the holes. So I've grabbed this one right here. I'm going to shift select this one. And here in the center, NURBS do not come together the way polygons do. So there's actually 8 points coming in here, all on top of one another. So we need to grab all 8 of those by dragging a marquee. And we'll do that by right mouse clicking to Control Vertex, holding down the Shift key and dragging a small marquee around that little group right there. Okay, so we've got all the points now. W on the keyboard, and you can start pushing them back. So you can see it flattening out now. Sort of the way the anatomy works on the eye. And I'm getting it about to here, where it starts to indent a little bit too much. And then I'm going to release that other hull by going back to hull. And it's actually inside there. So you're going to have to go to wireframe and then Shift, deselect that hull right there on the outermost one that we selected. Then back to 5. And then we can just push these back in just a little bit more. Kind of smooth that area out. So come back to object mode. So your eye should look something like that. It's the inner eye. And let's go ahead and insert one more isoparm just to represent the pupil. So I'm just going to drag that down to the center here. Okay, and let's go ahead and insert that now. There we go. So this is more just a representation. Once we take this into Mudbox and paint it, we're just going to actually project an eyeball material right on there and paint it. Okay, so with this selected, let's go ahead and create another layer. And we'll call this eye in for the inner. Okay, and we can turn the visibility on both of these and drag a marquee around them And under Show, we're going to uncheck View Selected. Okay, so it's sitting inside of the character right now, and it needs to get scaled up. With both of those selected, let's go ahead and group them. Control G is going to group them. And we can come into our outliner really quickly and just rename our group. So that's our left eye that we're going to be working on. Okay, and I'm going to center the pivot on that for right now and just pull it forward. There we go, and obviously needs to get scaled up quite a bit. So let's sort of center it in there, and then R on the keyboard, and we'll scale it up uniformly. And then kind of push it back in. If you select the character and hit 3 on the keyboard, you can kind of see a little bit better what's happening. There we go. Okay, so right about there. We're still going to extrude the eye out a little bit more, so we may have to make a couple adjustments for that. But for now, let's go ahead and restrict these here so we can't select it. Okay, you'll see it, the wireframe turning black there, so now you can't select this. So this will allow us to just work on the eye socket without constantly grabbing the eyeball. Let's come back to 1 on the keyboard, and let's come in here and select the faces in the eye socket. 4 faces going around here. We can go ahead and delete those. That sort of opens it up, and we can kind of see how the eye is sitting in there a little bit better now. And we need to continue with our extrusion around the eye socket and building out where the eyelids are going to be. So with that edge selected, I'm going to extrude it. Go to World Space, activate Scale, and start scaling that in. So sort of scale it in and push it back a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to grab the vertex here on the corner of the tear duct and just sort of bring that in a little bit and down. And same thing over here. If we come back to 5 on the keyboard, we can kind of see the area that I'm pulling over. Okay, and we can probably push these over just a little bit and make some room. We're going to insert a few more edge loops around here after we're done extruding the eyelids to make some wrinkles around his eyes. Okay, so let's double click on this edge here again, the inner edge, extrude that, go to World Space and scale it in uniformly. And you can see that kind of coming in around the eye. Open that up, and we probably need to bring this one down now. And our eye is sitting out just a little too far. I'm going to go ahead and select the eye. So I'm going to grab the outer eye as well, and making sure I've got the group, I just arrowed up for the group, and W on the keyboard, and we can push that back now and kind of get it sitting in there where it belongs. Okay, so right about there. And then let's shape some of this geometry around the eye a little more, kind of bringing these down. And we can come here to the side and see a little bit better. Let's grab these right here now, pull them out, and forward a little bit. Same thing here, we can grab this one. Okay, and the eyelid on the top can get pushed back to fit around the eyeball a little bit better. Okay. Go to 4 on the keyboard so I can grab that vertex. It's hiding back in there. And we're going to bring that in for the tear duct. Just shift selecting along that row there and bringing those in. Okay, and we've got one more area right here that still needs a little adjustment on it. Okay, so I'm still leaving a gap around the eye. Go around and make a couple more adjustments. We still have another extrusion to make that's going to be the thickness of the eyelid. So I'm leaving space for that. Got a little bit too much space here, so let's push these back in. All right. And this could probably come out just a little bit more. Same thing here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn that outer eye off again. And just drop that down a little bit more and bring that out. Okay, so we've got a little gap going around here, which is what we want. Let's go ahead and double click on that edge. Extrude it again, and this is going to create the thickness. So I'm going to center it in world space and just push it straight back. So we're not scaling it, we're just pushing it back to create a little ledge along there. Okay, and then let's go ahead and extrude again. World space, and you can actually scale this one up a little bit. We want to make it just a little bit wider and then push this back. So this is actually the eye socket. If you come in here, you can see it right there. The edge is actually pushing into the eyeball. And that's where we want it. It's just going to be hiding back in there and sort of filling in any of the gaps along here in the corners. Okay. So if we hit 3 on our keyboard, we can start to see how that is formed around the eye, and that's looking pretty good. We want to add some more detail around here, adding some wrinkles and defining the eyelids a little bit better, and possibly getting a smile line or crow's feet back in here. I'm going to hit Q on the keyboard. Come back to 1, and let's go ahead and widen up a couple of these areas here just to make a little bit of room for our edge loops. And we can start with one here. Let's pull this back just a little more and out. For the wrinkles we're going to put around the eye right now, we're going to actually just insert an edge loop all the way around. So let's go ahead and do that with the first one. Let's make our first one right here. And we can go ahead and hit W on the keyboard and push that back just a little bit. And we don't want the wrinkles going around the entire eyeball. We want them to sort of be more effective on the top and the bottom and then not so noticeable on the corners. So I'm going to come back in here and grab this vertex and pull it out. Same thing here. Just kind of smooth out that area a little bit. And grab the 2 on the top here and push those back in a little more. So recessing those to create a little bit more of a eyelid wrinkle. And same thing down here. I'm going to grab these 3, the lower lid, and push those in. And bring this down as well. Probably pull this one down a little bit too. And of course, the deeper you push them in, the more extreme they're going to be. Same thing if you pull them down closer to the line below them. It'll create a deeper crease there. Okay, so there's our first one. Let's get another one around here. Okay, and I don't think it's probably going to pull out the area here for the brow. And we can make this a wrinkle down here underneath the eye. So these are going to sort of do opposite things here. This one's going to go in to create a wrinkle of in and down, like so. And we can even push this one in just a little bit. And then here, we actually kind of need to use this loop to sort of round out our brow area and start creating a little bit of volume up here. He's got sort of heavy brows. And we can kind of widen it. And if you bring this down more, it will kind of create a heavier brow, if you want to do that. Okay, and just pull this area out right here. Okay, and if we hit 3 on the keyboard and take a look at that, I'm actually going to go back to object mode and turn off my wireframe to sort of see what that's doing. So it's going all the way around, especially over here on the side of the eye. The creases are going all the way around, which doesn't look very realistic. So let's come back here and make a couple adjustments to these areas. I'm going to hit 1 on the keyboard. So we can kind of see where some of these vertices have gone in a little too far and spaced a little too closely. So I'm going to space these out a little more evenly. I'm going to pull this one out again. And there we can see another sort of wrinkle that we don't really want. Same thing here. And then this one right here, I'm going to pull this one out. This one's gone in a little too far. That's really kind of causing the problem of that loop going all the way around. Okay, we'll just pull that out a little bit. And same thing here. Okay, so let's kind of flatten that area out right there, which is what we want. However, if we kind of look at our eye, it doesn't look quite natural yet. It's got kind of this heavy, thick eyelid up here with not a lot of definition. So the lower part is looking a little bit better. I could actually grab a couple of these points and kind of pull them down a little bit. Maybe pull these up. And again, if you want sort of heavier wrinkles, you can kind of pull these out a little more and down, or add another one underneath here, which is probably what I'm going to do. Okay, so let's address this area up here on the top of the lid. It's got this sort of flat area that needs a little bit more definition in it. So let's go ahead and drop an edge loop in here. And that's going to help kind of form this area on the lower lid a little bit better as well. So cue to end that, and then I'm going to grab the vertices here and start pulling these out and down. Same thing here. So this is kind of pulling our lid out on the upper part. Same thing right here. Okay. And if we sort of look at that, we can kind of pull this one out and possibly get one more loop up here and just make it go halfway around, and that will create kind of a nice crease up there for the upper part of the eyelid. Okay, so grabbing some of these points. And here as well. So the character, if we kind of come out here and look at his eyes again, he's got kind of those heavy lids from working late. And I'm going to kind of pull this up here a little bit higher. And I'm going to move this down here on the bridge of the nose. And the lower part of his lid actually comes up a little bit higher here, so I'm going to pull that up. And I think some of these have come out just a little too far, so let's kind of bring these back in. Same thing here. And we'll have to make some adjustments out there because we're probably intersecting our eyeball, but I just wanted to come back and kind of look at the overall shape of his eye. Make sure we're kind of staying true to the drawing. Okay. And you can see he's got some crow's feet here, little wrinkles along the corner of the eye that we're going to put in here in a second. Go ahead and pull some of these down just a little bit more. And you can see this is coming up here a little too high. If we come out here to our side view, we could probably pull this entire row all the way down and make room for another edge loop that we'll need to add later on. So I'm going to pull that down, kind of level that across there, and reshape a little bit. This is part of his cheekbone right here, so I'm pulling that out. And then grabbing these points back here, bringing them back in. Okay, I did collapse these areas back here. There's a little bit too much resolution coming into the neck here, so there were 3 lines that I collapsed down to 1, just merging the vertices, and then I deleted the edge in between here, connecting those 2 that created the 2 triangles to quad that back out again. So that just kind of helped the neck with the resolution being a little bit too tight down there. So you may want to do that. Okay, so we've got an intersection right here where I pulled the eyelid up. I'm going to just pull that out now. It kind of gives them a little bit heavier, kind of sleepy eyes. All right, and same thing here. We're going to have to kind of pull these out just a little bit as well. Let me shift select that one and pull that out. Okay. And same thing here. Okay, so the eyelid is starting to look kind of heavy now. We can still sort of pull these points out a little bit more. If you want to play with those, kind of get him looking how you want. And if you want to insert something that goes part way around, similar to a wrinkle, you would use the split polygon tool for that and just start at one of the corners. Go part way around here, ending it right there, and then inserting an edge loop in between there. And then you can take that with the move tool and push that back and up there. So that will create a little bit more prominent eyelid pushed back in there. Okay, and you can do the same thing down here if you want another wrinkle down here. You can even start it up over here and bring it around. Need it there. And this is probably a little bit too close, so you might want to drop this down. Pull that out a little. And we're going to have another edge coming down here eventually, so we can just open up this area a little. And then drop in your edge loop right here and do the same thing. Just use the move tool, push that in and down. And maybe grab some of these vertices as well and sort of pull them out for a little bit heavier wrinkle right there. Same thing here. Okay. Okay, so we've got the crow's feet to add here. So let's go ahead and draw out where that's going to go. And we've got a triangle right there that we're going to have to deal with. And let's go ahead and turn the visibility off on the eye so we can come around here and see that. And hopefully this tool is going to wrap around here okay. It did. So we've got a triangle right there. Let's just merge these vertices. Okay. So with that selected, we can insert an edge loop right there. And W on the keyboard, pull that back. And this one will probably need a little bit of adjustment to get it sitting in there properly. And you want to make sure you kind of keep the edge flow clean along the inside of the eye right here, the eyelid. Mine is sort of buckling a little bit, so I'm going to make some adjustments here. Pull these back out. Okay, and so the deeper you push these in, the more prominent the wrinkle is going to be. Okay, so you might want to hit 3 on the keyboard and kind of take a look at that. And we need another edge loop right here to hold this tear duct area together, as well as kind of define the bridge of the nose. So since we have these triangles right here, we're not going to be able to just use an insert edge loop, you can see that it goes up and around. So I'm going to undo that, and we're going to actually have to draw it across there, which gives us a little bit more control anyways. So I'm going to kind of start off close here and then come across the nose out there and hit enter on the keyboard, and then go here and merge these vertices to clear up that triangle. So if we come back out here and go to 3 on the keyboard, we can see a little bit more definition now here on the corner of the eye for the tear duct, which we want. If you want to make that even more prominent, you can go ahead and insert another edge along here, the split polygon tool, and then run this up to the brow area. And this will kind of help this area kind of fill in a little bit more. If you come back out and hit 3 on the keyboard, it should look a lot more defined now. We're going to come back in here in the next lesson and start shaping the nose as well as the mouth. And we'll do that in the next lesson.